The funny thing about building an empire, and yeah, I hate that word, but that's what 8 restaurants is that you start to miss the honest dirt. I'm Damon Cole. I built the obsidian hearth from the ground up right here in Bayview, Georgia. But I hadn't been an owner in months. I'd been a ghost, a tester. Tonight, I was just a guy, a black man in a ratty gray hoodie and work boots that still had clay dust on the treads from checking the foundation of the new place we're building downtown. I looked like a guy who should be asking for directions to the nearest hardware store, not walking into my own cathedral of fine dining that I pushed open those enormous, heavy steel and glass doors. And the sound of my worn boots on the imported marble floor felt like a shotgun blast in the hushed, truffle-scented air, almost defiant. Immediately, I felt it, the subtle, professional chill. That quiet, immediate assessment that says, you are an anomaly, and we must process you. That's exactly what I was testing. I wanted to know if my team saw a customer, or if they just saw the clothes, because that line, that tiny little gap between seeing people and seeing labels, that's where the rot begins. Chloe, the hostess, young, maybe 24, sharp as a tack, 6 months on the payroll, met me with the mandatory 1,000-watt smile, but her eyes, they did the flicker, down to the boots, up the faded denim, lingering a quarter-second too long on the zip-up hoodie, then snapping back to my face. I've trained them to notice details, but I wanted to see where she put me. Good evening, sir. Do you have a reservation? She asked, her tone flawless. Cole, table for one. 7:30. She tapped her tablet, found the name, and I watched her finger dance over the seating diagram. I saw the hesitation. She could put me at the service bar, near the kitchen, anywhere discreet. But she didn't. She looked up, smiled wide, and said, right this way. Mr. Cole. She led me past the main dining room, soft jazz, white linen, the clinking confidence of old money, and through the velvet rope. Subtle, burgundy, expensive, leading to the VIP mezzanine. Elevated 3 steps, wider tables, hushed conversations. The sanctuary. She seated me at table 13, the corner spot. Perfect view. Perfect exposure. She passed. Your server will be right with you, sir, she said, her voice warm. Completely devoid of judgment now that I settled into the leather banquette. Opened the menu and began my real work, observing the flow of service. 2 tables away, at table 11, sat Prescott and Lillian Thorne. The Thorns. They were the epitome of the clientele I never wanted but needed. 8-figure pharmaceutical money, custom-tailored suits, diamond watches, and a subscription to every upscale place in Bayview. Lillian, with her 30,000 Instagram followers, was meticulously photographing her seared scallops from 3 different angles. They were connoisseurs of exclusivity, of separation. I was sipping my water when I felt the change in the air pressure, that subtle shift you feel when you're being watched. Prescott's eyes narrowed when they hit my dusty boots. He leaned in, whispered something to Lillian, and she looked up from her phone, her perfectly sculpted face contorting into a brief, harsh mask of distaste. The whole night, the whole test, was suddenly in high gear, and I knew exactly how this was going to go down. A young server, the one who brought the water, came by, professional, zero judgment. I made a mental note. Hire this kid full-time, promote him. But before I could even order, the show started. Prescott didn't walk to the maitre d' stand. He walked directly to me. Deliberate, loud footsteps on the plush carpet. He stopped 5 feet from my table, arms crossed, radiating a condescending impatience that felt physically hot, demanding attention. That I looked up from the menu. Excuse me, he said, the word barely civil, tainted by contempt. I think there's been a mistake. This is the VIP section. My face was stone. No mistake. I have a reservation. A reservation? His voice carried, full of theatrical disbelief. VIP has standards, sir. Dress codes. You're in work clothes, work boots, a hoodie. He swept his eyes over me, an appraisal of livestock. I'm not sure you grasp what VIP means. I set the menu down, folding my hands. I felt the slow burn in my chest, the familiar, weary pressure of fighting this fight again. I grasp it perfectly. I have a reservation for this table. Prescott's face flushed. Then someone made an error seating you here. This section is for... He stopped, his arrogance catching in his throat. For guests who meet certain expectations. Lillian joined him, surveying me with a look that made me feel like something she'd found stuck to the sole of her Manolos. Honey, what is wrong? She asked, then saw me. Oh, oh, I see. She nodded, instantly aligning herself with the perceived social order. Just get the manager. Please. Prescott raised his voice. Manager. General manager, please. The beautifully maintained ambience of the obsidian hearth fractured. Conversations paused. The soft jazz faded into a tense, expectant silence. Ethan Vance. The general manager, 29, 6 months in, $8,500 worth of Apex Hospitality Group training, appeared. Calm, professional, but his eyes were darting nervously. Good evening. I'm Ethan Vance, general manager. How can I assist? Prescott launched the attack instantly. This man is sitting in VIP in work clothes. We are premium members. We pay for a premium experience. This, he gestured at my hoodie, is unacceptable. Ethan's eyes, trained to follow the guest profiling matrix, flicked over me. His mind was running the script. Tier 3 guest. Work attire. Initiate redirection protocol. Sir, he addressed me, his voice modulated. Could I speak with you for a moment? We can speak here, I replied, refusing to be moved, refusing to comply with the hidden script. Ethan's jaw tightened. This wasn't the protocol. The guest was supposed to recognize his mistake. I'd like to offer you an excellent table in our main dining room, he pressed, selling the lie. Same menu, same service, perhaps more suitable for, I'm suitable here. I cut him off, voice low, firm. I have a reservation for this table. Prescott was enraged now, fully exposed. I don't care about his reservation. Look at him. He clearly doesn't belong in a space like this. We paid extra for VIP. That means we don't have to share this section with people who look like they just left a construction site. At table 12, Dr. Evelyn Reed, a professor I later learned, had seen enough. She stood up. Her voice was slightly strained but clear. This is completely inappropriate. The man has a reservation. He's sitting quietly. He hasn't done anything wrong. Prescott wheeled on her. This doesn't concern you. It concerns everyone here. Evelyn retorted, her voice holding firm. You're not meeting him with respect. You're judging him by his clothes. Or, she paused, letting the implication hang, thick and unsaid in the silence. Maybe it's not just the clothes. The unspoken thing, the ugly truth Prescott had been carefully avoiding, was finally given voice. Prescott's face went white with cold fury, but he couldn't counter. Ethan, caught between the $2,000 a month VIP member and the unfolding public disaster, tried one last time. Sir, he said to me, his voice hardening, I'm going to have to insist. For the comfort of all our guests, we have a lovely table. No, I said. Simple. Final. I am comfortable at this table. Ethan's professional mask cracked. He was genuinely frustrated, unable to process a non-compliant Tier 3 guest. Sir, according to our guest assessment protocols from Apex Hospitality Group, the mention of the training firm was the trigger. My eyes sharpened. Apex Hospitality Group. And you know what they actually taught you? Ethan stammered. Professional hospitality, guest management, service excellence. No, I said, rising to my full height. I was done sitting. I wasn't angry. I was just profoundly exhausted by the predictability of the entire system. They taught you how to discriminate with a smile. Just then, my assistant manager, Samantha, rushed over. Her eyes were wide, recognizing the boots, the hoodie, and the man inside them. Mr. Cole, she whispered, horrified. Is that really you? I turned to her. Hello, Samantha. Ethan's tablet nearly crashed to the floor. His face drained completely of blood. He tapped the screen frantically, found the owner field in the reservation system, and saw my name. His stomach plummeted. Prescott Thorne's face went through 3 distinct stages: confusion, dawning horror, and then utter, paralyzing collapse. Who's? Mr. Cole, he muttered. Samantha, regaining her professional posture, turned to the Thornes. Her voice was tight with fury. Mr. Thorne, this is Damon Cole. He owns the Obsidian Hearth. He owns all 8 restaurants in our group. The silence was absolute. Prescott grabbed the edge of his table, his knees actually buckling. Lillian's phone slipped. She gasped, caught it, and stammered. Oh my God. Oh my God. Ethan was a ghost. Mr. Cole, I didn't know. I was following the training, the protocols. You thought what, Ethan? My voice was quiet, but it filled the space. That someone in work clothes can't afford to eat here? That's what they trained you to think. Prescott managed a strangled response. We didn't know. If you had just said you were the owner. I cut him off, the coldness returning. Said I was the owner. So then I deserve to sit here. That respect depends on what someone owns instead of being owed to everyone who walks through that door. The thorns were beaten. They gathered their things, moving like people in a bad dream, and vanished without another word. Without looking at anyone, I looked at Samantha. Incident reports. Past year. Every complaint, every guest asked to move, every refund. On my desk by midnight. Then to Ethan. You're not fired. But we have a very long conversation ahead of us about Apex and what you learned to do here. The next morning, in my office, 8 months of incident reports were laid out like damning evidence. March 10th. Guest Ramirez family requested relocation from Table 7. March 22nd. Guest Richards, a black woman in hospital scrubs, told the patio was full. Footage showed 3 empty tables. April 5th. James Walker, construction worker with drywall dust, told he'd be more comfortable at the bar, left without eating. 12 incidents in 2 months. Same playbook, same coded language. Always non-white or working-class guests. Samantha brought in the Slack printouts. Remember Apex training. Assess guest fit before seating premium areas. Urban-style clothing. Felled off. Redirected to bar. Good instinct. That's exactly what Elite taught us. The code was not even subtle. I knew then that this wasn't about one bad manager. It was a structural problem.
I called Ava Sterling at the Bayview Tribune a sharp investigative reporter. I showed her the reports, the Slack messages, the security footage. And then the anonymous email I received containing the Apex Hospitality Group Employee Training Manual version 3.2.ava, cool and professional. Scrolled to page 47, guest profiling matrix. Tier 3, redirect. Indicators: work clothing, athletic wear, urban fashion styles. Heavy accents, non-standard English. Page 50. Brand integrity requires consistency. When guests present characteristics inconsistent with your brand positioning, gentle redirection protects both the establishment's reputation and the guest's comfort. Ava looked up from the screen, her composure cracking slightly. Damon, this is a training manual for discrimination. Samantha had the reach numbers. 43 restaurants in Bayview, all paying Apex $7,000 to $10,000 a month. Over $5 million total in fees for teaching systematic exclusion. Ava's article exploded. Then the lawyers for Apex hit back, threatening a $500,000 lawsuit and sending a confidential memo to all partner restaurants. Any staff member who spoke out would be fined $50,000 for violating the NDA. The fear was immediate. Chloe, the hostess, called Ava, weeping. I can't testify. I have $1,700 in savings. I can't risk $50,000. I have kids. I received the settlement offer, $250,000, clean exit. And the drama. My lawyers urged me to take it. I sat on it, looking at the number. Peace, safety, closure, but I thought about the victims. I drove out to the neighborhood of Sofia Reyes, the housekeeper who had been told the patio was closed. She opened the door, weary but firm. Mr. Cole, I can't testify. I told the reporter my story. That's all. I understand, Sophia. Do you? Her eyes were old and tired. I clean houses for people like Prescott Thorne. They talk. If I become the woman who makes noise, I lose clients. You can afford to fight. I can't. Justice doesn't pay my rent, Mr. Cole. It doesn't buy groceries. She closed the door. I sat on her porch, understanding that my principles were a luxury she couldn't afford. I pulled out my phone, ready to concede. I was typing a reply to the settlement offer when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Text message. Mr. Cole. My name is Elias Vance. I'm the law student who was turned away on March 3rd. I'm not scared of Apex. I know how to research. I know how to organize. I've been finding the others. We can fight back together. Are you still in? I stared at the text for a full minute. Then I deleted my draft reply, closed the settlement offer, and typed one word back. Yes. The fight was back on. Elias Vance, 23 years old, third-year law student, civil rights concentration, and a fire in his soul that I hadn't felt since I was his age was the catalyst. He told me, "They use financial intimidation, Mark. They want the victim silent. But I'm not a victim anymore. I'm a plaintiff. And I have time." He had a professor, Catherine Wright, who specialized in discrimination law and was itching for a case like this. Elias connected with 12 people, the 12 documented victims. They started organizing, comparing notes. The pattern was overwhelming. The same scripts, the same coded rejection, different places, all trained by Apex. Then the final, undeniable smoking gun landed. Another anonymous email, a link to an unlisted training video. The password worked.ava, and I watched it together. It was Julian Reed, the owner of Apex, standing in a sleek studio looking like a motivational speaker. "Excellence in hospitality isn't just about food quality," he said with that perfect, reasonable smile. "It's about consistency, and consistency requires discernment in guest management." The PowerPoint slide flashed, the guest profiling matrix. Clothing, posture, speech patterns, accessories, demographics. Some guests may not be ideal fits for your particular establishment's atmosphere, Reed continued, his voice warm. That's not discrimination. That's curation. Fine dining requires a certain level of sophistication. Not everyone possesses that sophistication. Your job is to guide them appropriately. Then the truly damning section: urban fashion styles, athletic wear, work clothing, heavy accents or non-standard English. These often signal guests who may not fully appreciate fine dining's nuances and the directive. When redirecting these guests, always frame it as serving their comfort. The guest leaves thinking you did them a favor. We had a tech expert analyze the video metadata created by Julian Reed, downloaded 43 times by unique IP addresses that matched every Apex partner restaurant in BAYVIEW.AVA, published the final article. Training videos reveal coded racism. Apex Hospitality taught restaurants how to discriminate legally. It included clips, the code glossary, the metadata. The South Carolina Attorney General announced an investigation immediately. 6 restaurants publicly terminated their Apex contracts within hours. The very next day, Councilwoman Ramona Cruz called me. "Mr. Cole, I'm opening a formal inquiry. Apex shouldn't be licensed to operate in this city. I'm scheduling a public hearing tomorrow. Apex will be required to respond under oath. Can you be there?" "Absolutely." Bayview City Hall, 6 p.m. 200 people, media cameras everywhere. The air was electric. Julian Reed sat at the respondent table, flanked by lawyers, still looking arrogant. I was first. My voice was quiet, but it commanded the chamber. I was judged in 15 seconds by my hoodie, by my work boots. But this isn't about me. It's about James Walker, Sophia Reyes, Elias Vance. They don't have the privilege of owning the building. They walked into establishments that gladly took their money but didn't want their presence. Respect isn't earned by what you wear. It's owed to everyone who walks through the door. The gallery erupted in applause. Elias Vance testified next. Calm, articulate, a future civil rights attorney already in motion. I watched 3 white couples walk in and get seated immediately after I was told every table was reserved. This is not service failure. This is intentional discrimination. James Walker followed, his voice shaking but firm. I came in hungry after a 10-hour day. They made me feel like working with your hands means you don't belong in certain places. Julian Reed took the stand, denying everything, claiming misapplication by staff. Councilwoman Cruz cut him down with surgical precision. Mr. Reed, your training video uses the phrase urban fashion styles. Is urban a synonym for black customers? Reed squirmed. Absolutely not. Willful misinterpretation. Then explain why 12 non-white customers were redirected using exact scripts from your training manual. She shot back. Reed had no answer. Then, the final blow. Councilwoman Cruz looked straight at him. $50,000 paid to 3 black employees. Allegations of systematic mistreatment. Does the name Grandeur Hotels and the 2019 discrimination settlement sound familiar, Mr. Reed? The chamber was dead silent. Reed's lawyer screamed about confidentiality, but it didn't matter. The crowd had their answer. Ethan Vance, the GM from the Obsidian Hearth, testified last. I thought I was following industry standards. Apex trained me to assess guests based on appearance. They called it quality control. I was wrong. I hurt people. But I didn't invent this system. I was taught it. And 42 other managers were taught the same thing. The council voted 6-1 to suspend Apex Hospitality Group's business license for 6 months, pending review and mandatory anti-discrimination retraining. 6 months later, Apex filed for bankruptcy. Julian Reed faced multiple lawsuits. I developed Dignity First Hospitality, my own training program, free to any Bayview restaurant that wanted it. 15 signed up immediately. Ethan Vance kept his job. People deserve second chances, Damon, I told Samantha, if they're willing to do the real work of change. Elias Vance passed the bar. Councilwoman Cruz's resolution made anti-discrimination policies mandatory for license renewal, and one Friday night, Sophia Reyes brought her daughter to the Obsidian Hearth. I personally seated them at table 13, the very spot where the fight began. Prescott and Lillian Thorne left Bayview quietly. New city, new start, but the story follows them. I still walk into the restaurant in my gray hoodie sometimes. Every table full. Every guest treated identically. A construction worker sits at table 11 with his family. His server smiles, genuine and heartfelt. Welcome to the Obsidian Hearth. We're so glad you're here. Sometimes the man in the hoodie owns the building. But more importantly, every single person deserves to be treated like they do. Respect isn't earned. It's owed. It is the basic currency of human interaction. If you've lived this, if you've been judged, dismissed, or told you don't belong because of your clothes, your accent, or your skin, leave a comment. Share your experience. Because that is how 12 Quiet Voices became a movement. That is how one night of petty judgment changed a city's core standards. Hit subscribe if you believe dignity is non-negotiable. And let me know, what is the worst example of coded discrimination you've ever witnessed in an exclusive establishment? Let's keep this conversation going.